All right, I think we're good to go. Um, Welcome, and thanks for your presence here this Monday evening. Um, and we are in, as you know, I'm sure, the third week of Advent, and to prepare our hearts for the coming of Christ, the church brings our focus this week to the experience of joy. And so tonight's meditation will be a mudita practice, which is a practice of sympathetic joy, right? It's sometimes called appreciative joy. Essentially, what we'll be doing is borrowing the joy of another, right? And just to refresh your memory, like Buddhism identifies four faces of love, and those faces are loving kindness, which is what we typically practice here on Mondays. And when love meets suffering, it turns into compassion. There's equanimity, which brings a balance, if you will, to the circumstances of our lives. And then finally, the fourth face of love is joy. And in these different practices that we do here on Monday, what we're ultimately, I think, doing is developing habits of heart, habits of the heart. We're helping our hearts develop a habit of like actively appreciating being kind or compassionate or equanimous or joyful, like welcoming these four phases of love without having them be simply accidental or conditional. And I think joy can especially feel accidental, like, oh, I just noticed I'm feeling joyful, or conditional, like the conditions have to be just right for me to feel a lot of joy. But mudita is understood again as sympathetic joy or appreciative joy. So we're really training the heart to be truly happy when others are happy. Like, again, we're borrowing their joy and making it our own. I'll give you an example. My wife and I, a couple of months ago, we found out we're going to be grandparents for the first time. It's very exciting, which, of course, I'm super happy about. But I don't have anywhere near the joy that Patty does around this, especially when she tells someone she's going to become a grandma. And it was about a month ago. We were out at a bar with friends, and we were there to listen to some live music, and we're waiting for the band to go on. And women are at the one side of the table, guys on the other side of the table, and Patty proceeds to share the good news, and she turns to our friend, and the two women, like, they grab each other's hands, both hands, and then they like bring their faces together like 12 inches apart, and they're both have these magnificent smiles, and they're talking at the same time, and they're kind of bouncing up and down as they're talking, and this lasts for like 45 seconds, like literally. And meanwhile, I turn to the guy who I'm talking to, and we just clink beer glasses to celebrate. So again, she has this magnificent joy around this. And so I incorporate loving kindness practice into my morning prayer. And when I've been doing mudita lately, I've gotten so much mileage out of that 45-second encounter with Patty and Kathy. Like, I have been borrowing their joy. And for me, like, my heart is really, to be honest, not tuned to easily be happy when other people are happy. And so the mudita practice helps soften that for me. And I suppose the other really powerful thing about this practice is, I don't need to tell you that there's just a lot of pain in the world, and it's hard to not get lost in that pain and suffering at times. But it's true that no matter how much suffering is in the world, it will never extinguish the joy that is also present in the world. And likewise, of course, no matter how much joy there is, pain and suffering will also be part of our experience. So mudita, with its focus on joy, can be such an important spiritual practice, like it's the one face of love that I think can be so hard to nurture. And that's why, the church giving us this week of Advent to do just that, to focus on joy, is a gift, and it's really important. So tonight, after a little grounding, we'll do a little breath practice. We'll work with some of the traditional categories that we normally do. The mudita practice begins with identifying a person in your life that's going through some happy times now. And then we'll bring the focus to our own self, and then to a friend, and then finally we'll conclude with a neutral person. And since this may be new or kind of a little bit unfamiliar to some of you, I'll try to offer a few more guidance and cues than I normally do. So, like we always do, I'll share my screen. I'll light some candles. I'll invite you, if it's helpful, to turn your video off, just to, again, mitigate any sense of self-consciousness, which is always the enemy in our prayer practice. And let's use those simple instructions to bring the body in the posture. In other words, just to begin by mindfully setting up your posture of prayer where you can feel grounded, stable, engaged, and at the same time, relaxed, comfortable. So once you've sort of settled in and found your body and the posture, bring your mind into the body. You close down the eyes. Meditation is, again, by and large, an inside job, so just begin to notice your inner experience, the physical sensations that are alive within you. Feel your feet on the floor. Your seat in the chair. Your body is made up of roughly 37 trillion cells that are all buzzing away, keeping you alive. Lots of things happening inside you. And finally, we bring relaxation to the mind. So we can let the mind relax by just letting go of effort, right? Because effort always brings judgment, like, am I getting someplace here with my meditation? Am I doing it correctly? So just let your mind relax. Relax into the experience of the moment. Just this moment. Nothing more. Nothing less. Nothing else. And we'll start with Thich Nhat Hanh's present moment, wonderful moment, breathing practice. So I invite you, again, keeping the mind and the body, to just become aware of the cycle of your breathing. Without changing the pattern of your breathing, the depth of your breathing, just simply when you breathe in, know that you're breathing in. And when you breathe out, know that you're breathing out. You can open yourself up to all the subtle sensations of each inhalation that you take. body expanding, breathing in vitality and life. And the exhalation, the body relaxing, softening, letting go. Keeping your awareness just stationed on the sensations of your breath, I'll teach you the 4 steps of Thich Nhat Hanh's present moment, wonderful moment practice. So it's 2 cycles of breath, and we recite the following 4 lines silently to ourselves. On the first in-breath, we recite calming, and then on the out-breath, smiling. The next in-breath, present moment, out-breath, wonderful moment. Calming, smiling, present moment, wonderful moment. So breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. You can let a slight smile come to your lips. Breathing in again, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I know this is a wonderful moment. So connecting the breath with those 4 lines of intention. Calming, smiling, present moment, wonderful moment. When you recite the word calm, can you feel the breath, the in-breath, calming your body and your mind? And you recite the word smile and let that modest smile relax your face, shift your attitude. Present moment. Be grounded in where you are, sitting with that slight smile. Wonderful moment. It's a joy to sit with ease. Only in this moment is the presence of God. It is a wonderful moment. Calming, smiling, present moment, wonderful moment. So let's begin our practice of mudita, sympathetic joy, borrowing the joy of another. Joy doesn't have to be a scarce resource. It's a little bit like the loaves and fishes. It can keep multiplying as more people participate in it. So I invite you to begin with identifying someone in your life that you care about who's experiencing some measure of happiness, some measure of joy. Maybe it's a family member, a friend, someone at work. It doesn't need to be perfect happiness, right? It's just some element of happiness. Maybe they're traveling, or a relationship for them is going pretty well, or they've gotten some good health news. Just things are going their way. And as you settle on this person, can you bring an image of this person into your mind's eye? Maybe you can even picture them in a moment of happiness. You might see them with a smile on their face, doing what makes them happy, what brings them joy. And then imagine that you're in their cheering section, encouraging them on, right? And here you can begin to work with the following phrases, sending these thoughts as if you were splashing them with a blessing or offering them a prayer. As you repeat, may your joy continue. May your happiness grow. And again, you're not forcing anything. You're just relaxing into your wish, into the blessing, one phrase at a time. No efforting to make something happen, just gently repeating at your own pace. May your joy continue. May your happiness grow. And if you feel an empathic response, perhaps in your body or your mind, just let your attention simply rest there and enjoy that experience of feeling happy for their happiness. Keeping your vision of their joy again in your mind's eye. And when you get distracted or your focus feels a little fuzzy, you can return to the phrases. Let the phrases sharpen your attention. You might even try different phrases like, I'm happy that you're happy. And other thoughts, again, will come up like, hey, what about my happiness? That's just normal. You can gently let go of those thoughts when they arise as best you can, just keeping your awareness stationed on the happiness of the other. Gently repeating the phrases, and letting the practice be medicine for your heart. And now you can turn the practice of mudita toward yourself, because we all want to be happy. And sometimes it's awkward to admit this. And you may even know people who might say they like being grumpy or cynical or angry, which is to say that that's their way of being happy, right? Whatever you're doing because you think it's going to make you feel a little better or maybe a little less bad. Right? So in other words, there is something in you that is continually hoping for greater well-being. Right? This is God-given. So this part of the practice is about rooting or cheering for yourself as you, like everyone else on the planet, pursues happiness. So think of a situation that brings you joy, that makes you happy. And remember the last time you were there. And as you recall the details, can you delight in the fact that you can experience well-being? What a blessing to appreciate your own well-being, to have the capacity to do so. And as you stay in that place of your own happiness, you can bless yourself with the phrases. Speaking to yourself, you might say, I'm happy that I can experience happiness. Or may my happiness continue. Or may I live with joy. Just finding the words that feel right for you as you cheer yourself on. Sometimes practicing mudita toward ourselves can feel awkward, right? If it does, you might imagine all the people in your life who want you to be happy, like who desire your happiness. You can imagine them in a cheering section, rooting for you as you direct these wishes, these blessings toward yourself. May my joy continue. May my happiness grow. And you can feel all the support from others as you slowly take those words into your heart. Now let me invite you to turn your attention to a friend. And choose someone who's not necessarily going through a particularly joyful time in their life, but you care about this person. And once you identified this person, can you tune into their capacity for happiness and well-being? And you can imagine this person being happy in an activity that they enjoy. Again, it doesn't have to be over-the-top happiness. It can be a quiet kind of well-being. But the real thing, like authentic, true for their experience, however they might experience well-being and happiness. And as you get in touch with how much you care about them, shower them with the blessings. May your joy continue. May your happiness grow. You might use their name as you offer these blessings, these wishes. And you can imagine their well-being continuing. Again, let your phrases not be full of effort, but just a sweet wish. May your joy continue. May your happiness grow. And just to clarify, one of three things might be happening as you practice this. One, you might be offering these phrases as blessings or wishes. Two, you might simply just be holding an image of the person in the joyful state of being, kind of savoring that image. Or three, you might simply rest in the feeling of sympathetic joy when it arises in you, and you begin to feel happy for their happiness. And then finally, let me invite you to identify a neutral person. Again, the neutral person is someone you don't know very well. You don't have any dislike or like for this person. Maybe it's someone here that you see on a Zoom screen in our chapel. But once you bring this person to mind, although you don't know this person at all, can you imagine them in a happy moment, wherever your imagination may lead you? Maybe it's with a loved one, or with their cat, or walking in nature. eating a delicious meal. Yeah, just imagine them delighting in a moment in their life. And then see if you can delight in their delighting. Again, repeating the phrases as a blessing. May you live with joy. May your happiness increase. You can just sort of relax into a generous feeling that if they're happy, then everybody they encounter will benefit from their happiness. Maybe for a few moments you can feel some connection to this human being in a way that, is grounded in this desire to be happy. Now, friends, just let go of the phrases, let go of the act of practicing, and just become still. And as you sit in the stillness, can the presence of happiness that you experienced with these 4 people, again, not perfect happiness, but can you let that happiness fill your heart? Allow yourself to enjoy the fruits of borrowing their joy. In this 3rd week of Advent. Let me just offer a suggestion for a mudita practice during this week of Advent, where joy is the focus. You might have your radar out for happiness around you. Like just sort of be on the lookout for happiness. And when you see someone in good spirits, say the phrases, may your happiness continue. May your happiness grow. And again, you can realize that their happiness is contributing a little more joy to the world. And we all know that the world could use a little more joy. So borrow their happiness and let their joy become your joy.